Hello everyone, it's Dawn and welcome back. And today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm not going to be doing a tutorial as such, but what I am going to be doing, I'm going to be doing a comparison between artist watercolour and student grade watercolour. Now I'm not comparing brands here, I'm only using one brand, so the results from this one might not necessarily be the same results if I was using another brand. But this is the Winsor & Newton brand. This is not a sponsored video, I have to tell you that, but it's just the brand I always use. So we're going to be using a Cotmans and their artist quality, and we're going to compare the two. And I've taken three colours from the three main groups. I've taken one from the cadmium and cobalt, in this case it's cobalt blue. I have got yellow ochre, one of the earth colours, and sap green. Or in artist quality it's called permanent sap green. And what we're going to do a comparison to see if there's any noticeable difference in how they look, and I shall be giving my opinion on how they behave when you work with them. So I will tell you what they are once we're done. I'll do the comparison first, then I'll tell you which is which. I'm not going to make you guess, I'm not that mean. Well, not this week anyway. So another time, depending on the results, what I might do another time is do it with a different brand to see if the results would be any different. So that could be an interesting one. But for today, we'll just stick with this one brand just to keep life simple. So I'm going to wet my brush and we're going to start with cobalt blue. So we'll call the one on the left number 1 and the one on the right number 2. And then when we've done the comparison, when I've done the comparisons on my paper, I'll tell you which is which. So we'll do number 1 for now. I'll let you have a little guess while we're doing the comparisons. But I will tell you as soon as I've done it. So we're just going to take a bit of water, make it nice and reasonably puddly, and we're going to paint it. We're not going to do any particular picture, this is just going to be swatches of colour. We're not worrying about painting skies or anything like that. Let's just make that a little bit more dilute. So that's number 1 from cobalt blue. Let's give it a good rinse out so we don't get it mixed in with the other one, because that wouldn't be a fair trial. And then we'll pick up a little, well, the same amount from our number 2. That one seems to be a bit stickier than the first one, I have to say. So that's number 2. See what it looks like when we paint it on. Oh yes, that's a nice colour. It goes on quite smoothly. I'm just going to hydrate it a bit more, or add more water to it. Now, it is a bit richer. There's not a great deal of difference. If I just butt it up to that one, there's not a great deal of difference. This one, number 2, is a little bit stronger. Now, number 2, I'll let you know, on all of them, I'll tell you which is which now. Number 1 is the student's grade, and number 2 is the artist quality. And the artist quality one was a bit stickier to work with, to be honest, but there was nothing wrong with it. It still works, but as you can see, there's not much difference in the tone. As they're drying, there's not a lot of difference in the tone. It's still they're both still a good quality tone, so obviously it's a good quality paint, whether you use student grade or the artist grade. Now, of course, there is a big difference in the price. Now, in the Cotmans range, because I paint so much, I use the big 21mm tube, the 21mm tubes. So obviously I get a lot more in the tube. And where I get mine from the SAA, which is also not a sponsored video, it's just where I get my paints from. And because I'm a member, they're £5. I think they're £5.40 per tube. I could be wrong on that, but I think they're about £5.40 a tube. But the other one, that one, the artist one it's a little 5mm tube, and I got that from well, we haven't actually got a local art store. I actually got mine from my local WH Smith's, which have got a very good art department. And that was about, I think it was £9.95 a tube, nearly £10 a tube. So there's quite a bit of difference in price and the size of the tube. So let's move on. We will do yellow ochre next. And again, we will do number 1 from there. And then when we've done this bit, we'll go on to layering and mixing. Oh, that's a bit thick. Yellow ochre is because it's an earth colour, it's a very thick colour. So we might need a little bit more water. Let's put a bit more paint into it. So that's a good thick layer. So that's our number 1 for our yellow ochre. Nice rich colour, as we'd expect from an opaque earth colour. Some of the earth colours are not opaque, they're transparent, such as burnt sienna. But yellow ochre is opaque. And then we'll pick up this one, our number 2. So just pop some on the palette. Let's take a bit more. Pop some on the palette there, like that. And, oh, that's a surprise. I wasn't expecting that. Now that is a surprise. There's quite a big difference there, and the difference is, what is surprising is the difference. That one is the Cotmans one, the student's grade, which is very thick, as you'd expect it to be for yellow ochre, but that one is very thin and transparent. It's more like a raw sienna, to be honest with you. So if you wanted that to be the same consistency as what you'd expect from an opaque earth colour, you'd have to pick up, oops, there goes my backing sheet. You'd have to pick up a fairly hefty colour, but it's still that sort of raw sienna-y look. You can still see through it. This one you can't see through. That's more like a raw sienna. But it's still a nice colour. It's fine. If you want a more subtle tone, that's absolutely fine. So we'll move on. And we'll move on to, this time I'm going to use a manufactured green, and I'm going to use sap green. So again, we're going to start with number 1. And we're running out of space on the page. Let's pick up some water. And what we'll do again, we'll just pick up our number 1, make a little puddle of paint on our palette here so that you can see what I'm doing. And again, we'll paint that over there like that. And what we'll do, we'll just pick up, while it's still wet, we'll pick up a little bit more paint and go into it with almost neat paint. That'll just, if you put your layers down, this is another tip for you, and you think, oh golly, that's not quite rich enough, while it's still wet, just pick up almost neat paint and paint into it while the first coat is still wet. That way, if you pick up neat paint, you won't get a back run, you won't get those ugly cauliflowers. But even if you do, just paint beyond them and just wash them through, that's no problem. But anyway, that's number 1. Oh, I'll leave the water there. And then we'll pick up number 2. This is sap green. Just take a bit and make a puddle of paint there. Might need a bit more water on that one actually, because it's a bit sticky. So that's a little bit better. And that goes there. Oh, that's a nice rich colour. Now that's what I'd expect. That's the sap green, and the top one is Cotmans, which is student grade, and the bottom one is permanent sap green, which is artist grade. Now that's what I would have expected from an artist grade. I'd expect it to be a rich, dark colour. So the only surprise really is the yellow ochre. Everything else did more or less as we'd expect it to do. So as we're there, let's do a bit of mixing. So if we take our number 1 sap green, I'll tell you what they are as we're going along. Our Cotmans, our student's grade, sap green. I'm just going to make another puddle of paint over there. And what I'm going to do, on this part, the top one, which again is the Cotmans, or the student grade yellow ochre, I'm just going to pop that over there to see what they look like when we mix them. So that makes a beautiful rich green, as we know. That just blends beautifully like that, and you can see a little of the colour below, which is rather nice. And we're going to do the same with the artist grade. So take again a little bit of sap green. Because it's a bit sticky, we'll need a bit more water, I think. But that's all right. And we'll do that. So again, of course, that is much richer, which we'd expect it to be. But it still lays quite nicely. And we're going to do the same with the yellow ochre, but on the blue this time. So again, we're going to take some Cotmans, make a little puddle like that. And this is the Cotman blue, so just layer it So if you don't lay it too much, you get that almost that green gold. So that's a nice mix. So you can lay, this is called glazing. When you lay one layer on top of another, if the first layer is completely dry, then you add another layer on the top or a different layer on the top. That is called glazing. And we're going to add this with our student's grade. So again, it makes a nice colour. And finally, we're going to do the same with our greens. Now, what shall we add on to that one? Shall we add a blue into it, or shall we add yellow ochre? Let's add a blue into it. So again, we'll add one of our Cotmans. It's still nice and puddly, that one. I like that. So we'll add that over the top like that. So we'll just glaze that over the top like that. Very smooth, very nice. And we'll take some of the artist quality blue. Again, cobalt blue. Oh, the other main difference I found, in them both, when you can't see that of course, but using them, the artist one seemed to be a bit more sticky. I'd have thought that as the other, that's the other surprise. I would have thought that more as the student grade because I'd expect there to be more filler. But they are rather sticky. Well, I think they are anyway. But that's not a criticism, that's more of an observation. So there we go. There is our comparisons between our student's grade and our artist grades. We've had a couple of surprises. We've had some fun finding out what they can do and what the differences are. As you can see, there's not much difference. These are dry now, so there's not much difference between the cobalt blue, which that was a surprise. That was a big surprise, the yellow ochre. And here, no great surprises. But so I hope you found that interesting, and I hope it's given you a bigger insight or a wider insight as to the main differences between, apart from the obvious difference, which was the price and the sizes of the tubes, between artist grade watercolour and student's grade watercolour. Now, I quite like both. As I say, I found the artist quality a bit sticky to work with, or stickier than usual. I suppose it's because I'm used to working with Cotmans, and I shall continue to do so, unless something better comes along. But for the time, in the meantime, I shall carry on working with the ones I like and the ones I'm used to. So I hope that's given you an insight and that you found the results interesting. And I will be back on Thursday with a regular tutorial. And if my memory serves me correctly, which sometimes it does, I'm going to be showing you 3 different ways to paint a sky wash. So I hope you can join me for that. And if you're enjoying these videos and finding them interesting, please do, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell so that you're always informed of when I upload a new video. And the colours that I've used and the grades that I've used, I will add all down in the description box below so that you can refer back to it if you need to, or if you'd like to. So I hope you've enjoyed this and found it interesting. And until Thursday, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe everybody, have fun, and as always, happy painting. Bye bye for now.